What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Sideswipe the Boss back at it again with another tier list. And today I decided to do, as you can see, a DC movies tier list. And it's not just going to be movies from like the DCEU, because that would have been way too short of a tier list. There's only like, 8 or 9 DCEU movies right now. So I decided to do DC movies starting from 2000 to the present day, or in this case 2020. So it's still kind of a short list. If I'm missing some like live action DC movies from 2000 to 2020, just let me know and I'll put them in like the comment section down below. But this is all I could find for DC movies from the past 2 decades. But without further ado, let's get into it. And if you do enjoy this video, just, hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're still on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We're making a little bit of progress every day. So just keep on liking, keep on subscribing, and the support will be very appreciated. So first up, we have Catwoman. This one came out in 2004, I believe. It's the first one on my list. And it's the first one in the F tier. I don't have to explain myself on why it's going in the F tier. If you've seen the movie, you know why. Next up, we have Constantine. This movie came out in 2005. And it starred Keanu Reeves as Constantine. And it's also going in the F tier. I didn't like it. This was back when everyone thought a movie with Keanu Reeves would do good. And even though he is a good actor, a very great actor actually, not every movie with Keanu Reeves is good. And this is definitely one that also stands out as not a very good one. So it's also going in the F tier, but above Catwoman, because it's slightly more bearable, but also not really. Next up, we have Batman Begins. This came out in 2005, and it was an alright movie to me. This is my least favorite out of the Dark Knight trilogy, but it's still a good movie nonetheless. I mean, it's a good opening to Batman, Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's or Raish, however you want to call him. He's a good villain played by Liam Neeson. I almost said Nelson. Neeson. And yeah, it's a pretty good film. It's just not my favorite one out of the Dark Knight trilogy, but it's still a decent film nonetheless. So it's going to go in the C tier. Next up, we have Superman Returns. This movie came out in 2006, I believe. And, after seeing Brandon Routh in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover playing the Kingdom Come Superman, I really did grow an appreciation for his take on Superman for real. He is a good Superman, not even gonna lie. The movie wasn't that good in my opinion, but he is still a good Superman. So it's just enough for this movie to go in the D tier. It's still not a great film, but he does stand out as a good Superman for sure. And I hope we get to see more of his take on Superman in the future in some way, somehow. Next up, we got The Dark Knight. And y'all already know where this is going. Do I even have to explain myself? I don't think so. I don't think so. Next up, we got Watchmen. And this is one of Zack Snyder's best movies, at least in my opinion. It's a great movie. Got some great characters. Dr. Manhattan is a great... Would you call him a villain? I guess you could say he's a villain. In everybody else's eyes, I guess. But... yeah, it's a great film, so it's going to go in the A tier. Next up, we have Jonah Hex, and we don't have to talk about this one, do we? Do we really have to talk about this one? I don't think so. Next up, we have Green Lantern, and look, Green Lantern was just such a disappointment. He used to be my favorite DC hero, but then after this movie, it just kind of tarnished the character for me. I don't know why. He's still cool in the comics, but this movie didn't do the character any justice at all. But it is better than these 3 movies in the F tier, though. So it's going to go at the bottom of the D tier. Next up, we have The Dark Knight Rises, and I think it's a good film. It might be different from your opinion, but I think it's a good film. I think it's better than Batman Begins. it does have that middle point in the movie where nothing happens. It's like the movie just stops in its track before it gets back on action for sure. But it's still a good film in my opinion. So it's going to go in the B tier for me. Next up, we have Man of Steel, and this starts the actual DCEU films. And it was a cool film, Not really the best one in the DCEU, but not really the worst either. Henry he is Superman. That's all I gotta say. General Zod was cool. Had some cool action scenes. Also had some stuff that didn't make sense, and I didn't like Lois Lane either. But it's still a cool film nonetheless. So it's gonna go in the B tier, but below. Actually, no, I'll put at the top of the B tier. Why not? Next up, we have Batman vs. Superman, and it was a decent film. It felt kind of crammed. It felt like they were rushing to catch up with Marvel, because they literally just had Man of Steel before this, and then they already introduced 3 heroes and teased 3 more. Like, calm down. Let's take a break, y'all. But it was still a decent film nonetheless. And, when Wonder Woman showed up, she stole the whole show. She carried the last act on her back for sure. So this is going to go... I'm going to put this at the bottom of the C tier. Next up, we have Suicide Squad. And this movie was bad. It was really bad. Like, Will Smith and Margot Robbie were probably the only good parts of this movie. The rest of it was just bad. It was bad action, a bad plot, some useless characters, a bad Joker. It was just a mess overall. But it was somehow still better than these 3 films in the F tier. So I'll just put it at the bottom of the D tier. It was really bad, but not as bad as these 3 films down here. Next up, we have Wonder Woman. And this movie was great. It was really a breath of fresh air for the DCEU. I mean, after Batman vs. Superman and Suicide Squad, we were just hoping for a good or great DC movie, and Wonder Woman came around and just blew my mind away. It felt like a Marvel movie, and I mean, that's cool, I guess, but it shouldn't feel like a Marvel movie. It should feel like a DC movie, but the Marvel movies were booming at that time. But it was still a great film. Gal Gadot is a great Wonder Woman. They had Chris Pine in there doing his thing too. It was a cool action, a cool storyline. It was just an awesome film overall. So it's gonna go in the A tier for me. Next up, we have Justice League, not Justice League, Justice League, created by Joss Whedon, who really thought he could do something with that movie, but he couldn't. It was just a mess overall. I don't even want to go too much into detail about it. It was just a mess. So it's going to go at the top of the D tier. Next up, we have Aquaman. And Aquaman was a great film. It had great action, a great storyline, some great visuals. Yeah, it was just a great film overall. The only problems I had with it were teenage Arthur and Mira. That's the only problems I had with this movie. Other than that, it was a great film. So it is going in the S tier, but below The Dark Knight. Next up, we have Shazam. And Shazam was kind of like a breath of fresh air for the DCEU. It was so lighthearted, so funny, It did kind of have like a lower budget, and it showed a little bit, but there really wasn't a problem. At least for me, it really wasn't a problem because, the story made up for it. It has some great characters too. So this movie is going to go at the bottom of the A tier for me. Next up, we have Joker. And Joker was beautiful. Joker was such a beautiful film, for real. Joaquin Phoenix, man, that film was great. I mean, showing the Joker, showing a possible origin, and also all these little hints that this might not even be the real thing as well. That was just a beautiful film overall. So it's going to go in the S tier, just between The Dark Knight and Aquaman. Next up, we have Birds of Prey. And it was a cool film. I mean, it really wasn't the best film I've seen, but it was still a cool film. You know, Margot Robbie does steal the show as Harley Quinn. And I mean, it was more of a Harley Quinn movie and less of a Birds of Prey movie because they only really Birds of Prey'd than like the final act. But it was still a cool film nonetheless. So it's going to go in the middle of the C tier. And finally, we have Wonder Woman 1984. Such a underwhelming film. It was so disappointing. They was really hyping it up to be such a great film. The trailers looked great. And then the movie came out. I was so disappointed. I mean, Gal Gadot, she tries her best. I mean, the villains aren't that great. You know, the way they brought back Steve Trevor was, when you think about some of the possibilities, it was, oh my goodness. And yeah, it felt like an unfinished film, to be honest. So it's going to go at the top of the D tier for me. So that's the tier list, folks. F tier, we have Constantine, Catwoman, and Jonah Hex. D tier, we have Wonder Woman 1984, Justice League, Superman Returns, Green Lantern, and Suicide Squad. C tier, we have Batman Begins, Birds of Prey, and Batman vs. Superman. B tier, we have Man of Steel and The Dark Knight Rises. A tier, we have Wonder Woman, Watchmen, and Shazam. And in the S tier, we have The Dark Knight, Joker, and Aquaman. So that's the video, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know in the comment section down below what your tier list was. Would you keep it the same as mine? Would you change it a bit? Would you change it a lot? Just let me know that in the comment section down below. Also, let me know if I missed any live action DC films between the years of 2000 and 2020. I feel like maybe I missed some. That's why the tier list was so short. But, you know, maybe I didn't miss any. But just let me know if I did in the comment section down below. And if you did enjoy this video, just hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.